Video is highly powerful in trying to get across your message. What you can say and communicate in 60 seconds is far easier than writing something in 600 words or putting it into a print ad. You see people sitting on trains now, all they're doing is watching video. Attention span of people now is so short that you've got 15 seconds to capture them. First 15 seconds you front load your information.
Shorter and shorter,
Yeah, absolutely.
In all of our videos, we're in for 3 to 5 seconds. So obviously you mentioned that you've got a rich experience, 25 years in the industry.
All right, stop going on about it.
Welcome to the Video Marketing Podcast, hosted by Arc Media Group. I'm Graham Alsop and I'll be your host today. We're joined by Melissa Armstrong, who's an experienced marketing professional, and we'll be talking all things high-value campaigns. Well, thank you, Mel, for coming on. So just to kickstart it, tell me a little bit about you, your background, obviously your career and career in marketing.
Thanks for having me, Graham. I started actually about 25 years ago in PR. So I worked for a PR agency. It was just a PR role, very, very junior account executive. And it was in the days when you would write a press release on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope, go to Boots, get your photo developed, and then put it in the envelope, and it would go off to the local rag, and you'd never know whether it got covered until a few weeks later. So everything was a lot slower. We worked on numerous brands, so I got exposed to beer brands, retail, finance, and as time went on, I think agencies realised they couldn't just be a one-trick pony, so you had to start branching out to more brand experiences, campaigns, seasonal campaigns, launches, product campaigns. So I just started growing really into sort of the wider marketing mix, and it went from there. And we did some at the time some quite groundbreaking stuff. And then from there, after about 7 years, I thought I sort of, from an agency, you're only as knowledgeable as the information you're getting. So to go on to the other side, I really wanted to go and understand what the business objectives were of marketing. We were very much a small agency, so I wanted to be exposed to how you ended up coming to the conclusion of we needed a campaign for this or we needed a marketing plan for this. So I jumped ship and went into in-house. Spent a few years going through in-house roles, marketing manager roles mostly, where it was construction, so that was business to business, and then moved from construction business to business to the world of horse racing, which we had. Yes, very different. We didn't actually have anything to do with the horses. From the horse welfare, we weren't allowed to go anywhere near the horses. But the marketing that went with that was things like ladies' days, so family fun days, concerts, we put on concerts. And that required a lot of B2C marketing, obviously. So I was managing integrated campaigns, including CRM, and social media was starting to come in at that point. So it was very much static creative on social media. And I would manage, my role there was to manage an in-house, almost like an in-house agency, but our race courses and venues were our clients. So we had to manage all the comms that were coming in and then how we disperse those out into the consumer world. After that sort of 7-year journey where we brought in, and CRM and personalisation was becoming a real big thing in those days.
Becoming much more digitalised.
Yeah, so all that sort of development, we had an in-house digital team, and that was how we brought along the website journeys and, I say, social media. And then I did a contract cover for a company for taps and showers. So that was very much a trade, B2B, but also getting in the minds of consumers in terms of the plumbers that are out there and how they use our products and product launches. And again, starting really with the digital campaigns that go alongside that and how we get in front of the plumbers and the B2B audience through digitization. From there, I went to a theme park, which was as head of marketing there, actually. And that was where I really sort of brought all this stuff together. So as part of that role, it was about bringing above the line and below the line. So we did TV, obviously, for being a big brand in the theme park world. We did TV, we did social, we did Google Ads, we did CRM, we did emails. So pretty much every channel to reach our audiences, and that was very much a B2C. And from there I went to education. So that was about promoting the professional qualifications within B2B audiences again, but also touching on the consumers because they wanted to better themselves professionally. So hearing about our courses and qualifications outside of their workplace obviously help them then go back into their workplace and say, this is what I want to be. Utilising video content there as well to try and get across what the qualification got them in the end and what is involved in it. I love B2C. I got a permanent job where I am now as senior marketing manager, and we've got 80 brands around the UK. We are responsible for driving demand into those sites, so 80 brands across the UK and Ireland. And that again is looking at what solutions and pain points we can solve for the consumer and bringing them into our outlets.
Yeah, brilliant. So a lot of experience in those 25 years. You've obviously mentioned that you've had different kind of roles in B2B and B2C, and you said you prefer B2C. Why is that? Is it more flexibility? You can have a bit more fun with it, or?
A bit of both, really. I think B2C, I really enjoy seeing the whites of customers' eyes. And I enjoy getting into the emotional side of what a consumer responds to, understanding their pain points. So when we talk to consumers about bringing that brand to life in a consumer's mind, I enjoy B2B, but B2B is very much more, it's a long game. So you have to, it's more about relationship building, it's more about account-based marketing strategies, and it's more about lead generation. So it's much more high return for what you're getting. And also from a B2B perspective, you're trying to get into the mind of a business as opposed to an individual and what they like. So B2C to me is much more an emotional connection that you can make, and you can make someone interact with your brand a lot more than you can from B2B. And B2B is just a bit more, I guess, slower paced. I like the fast paced things.
Fast paced on it. So in terms of high value campaigns, then obviously they're slightly different between B2B and B2C, but is the fundamental process behind it all the same in terms of like finding your audience and planning? And if so, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the key to high value campaigns is, as you've just said, is the planning and research that goes into it. The way you plan a B2B campaign is no different than the way you plan a B2C campaign. You have to have clarity in what you're trying to achieve in all of them. So you have to have clarity in your objectives. So what's the business objective? Even if you're lead gen or demand gen, footfall driving, brand awareness, it is about driving that key metric, which is what are we trying to achieve? Because until you know what you're trying to achieve, you don't know what campaign is going to be right and where you need to spend your money. So they're both the same for me in terms of your planning. You start with your planning. You start with in your research, which is why from a marketing perspective, working in-house, it's much easier because you can understand the business objectives. What's the gap you're trying to fill with a campaign? And so once you've planned it and you've researched it, it becomes this, you can then start planning it out in what are your messages. So even in B2B or B2C, what's the message you're trying to get over? What problem are you trying to solve? And that could be something, you could be delivering a white paper in terms of knowledge and education for B2B, or you could be delivering, buy our product because it solves X, Y, and Z, or visit us because it will get you X, Y, and Z. So the messaging that you put in still has to solve the problem of the objective and ultimately then drive the conversions. So the actual planning that goes into B2B and B2C, I would say, is no different. There's just sometimes a bit more fun in the B2C world that you can bring it to life a little bit more.
I think what we've found is you can have a little bit more creativity in it. Perfect. So obviously we've worked together on a couple of high value campaigns before from a video perspective. Can you just talk to me how important video is in the modern age now in terms of being a cog of these campaigns?
Yeah, I think it's highly powerful. Video is highly powerful in trying to get across your message. What you can say and communicate in 60 seconds is far easier than writing something in 600 words or putting it into a print ad. The versatility that a video can get you, the ability to switch it around quickly, to mix up the messages, to have that bank of content that you can push out, and also the versatility in which channels and what platforms it lands on. So you can use video in every channel. You can't use a print ad in every channel because it would look silly on a web page. Whereas video, you can use it on web pages, you can use it in emails, you can use it on social, you can use it on advertising. So it's very, very important. And also the success comes from the emotional connection that it can get. So you can really put your message across, and you can bring any kind of the branding into it. And, you know, that sort of, either whether it's fun or whether it's serious, whatever it is, you can communicate it a lot easier in video.
Yeah.
Aspects.
So in terms of obviously you mentioned the channels and how video feeds into that. How important is it for you to get the right type of video for the channel? So for example, if you shot something on your phone and you put it on Sky AdSmart, it wouldn't do as well as if you put it on TikTok. You know, how important is it to get that right in the planning stage?
I think the same as, so going back to the planning stage, I think you have to really, it's all in the brief of what content you want to come out of your planning. So when you're planning, it's looking at the content that you want, the channel that it's going into, and what will resonate with that audience. So if it's a younger audience or if it's an older, who's consuming that media. So it's all about, you can't just turn up to a set or a venue to do some filming and not know what you're going to get, because the outcome won't be reflective of the objectives. So for me, it's going back to that briefing stage and trying to work out what you're trying to get out of the video, and absolutely what formats do you need, how long do you need it to be, what do you need it to communicate. So the importance for me again is in that planning stage and making sure that you get it right for the right audience.
I mean, it's something that we've found over the years, and as the video landscape changes constantly with all these platforms, is having that differentiation. It's a big word, isn't it? Having that differentiation between the glossy kind of TV advert stuff and then the stuff that you find on TikTok, and making sure that you get it right the first time. Because if you put a high glossy advert out on TikTok, it just won't do as well, because it's what people come to expect when they're on those channels. Yeah,
absolutely. User generated, you find the user generated stuff works a lot better on those social consume channels, versus they know when they're being sold to as well. And I think that's something, you don't want to be too salesy in what you do. And again, that goes back to planning what the content is and what the pain points we're trying to solve are. And you don't have to be explicit in those pain points. You don't have to say it will do tick tick tick. You can get that emotional connection over in a much more raw format. Whereas your bigger TV ads, they have to have the rules and regulations around, and all the T's and C's that go across the bottom.
It's always my favourite part.
Clear class, all that stuff that you have to get through approval, and so therefore it naturally has to be highly polished. But that TV advert content can manifest itself in different ways in different channels, different platforms.
It's all about that remarketing, isn't it? I can imagine even more so in B2C more than B2B. So obviously you mentioned that you've got a rich experience, 25 years in the industry.
I might stop going on about it.
It's a good 25 years, a successful 25 years, put it that way. How have you seen video change in that time? Because obviously you mentioned when you first started out, a couple of these channels started to pop up. But how have you really seen it change, and how has it played an impact in the high value marketing campaigns?
I think it just goes back to the days when we first started out, or I first started out, was you put stuff on a piece of paper, you put stuff in print, you put stuff on a billboard, and you never thought about the digital, you never thought about the video aspect of it. And I think gradually over time it was the TV advert, and then I think people realised that the way that it is consumed and the ease of consumption for a consumer, it is just grown into, and then the whole reposting and resharing, and people wanting to be a journalist as well. We found a lot in a theme park where I worked, people wanted to do that, be the people that took the videos and post it on things, so they became the journalist, and then that created a lot more user generated stuff. So I think it's just evolved into people's everyday lives. You see people sitting on trains now, all they're doing is watching video. They're not looking at the the sort of
reading the newspaper.
They're not reading the newspaper. No. And even on newspapers online, they embed video into it. So it's all that quick consumption, and attention span of people now is so short that you've got 15 seconds to capture them. So you've got to get that in that first 15 seconds, you front load your information.
Shorter and shorter.
Absolutely.
In all of our videos, we're aim for 3 to 5 seconds, something that will really interest them to keep on watching. I mean, I suppose the good thing around the digital revolution really is that kind of specific targeting when you're looking at adverts and stuff. How much experience have you had in previous roles, and how powerful can it be?
The specific targeting around video is very powerful because you can now look geographically, audience type, and you can serve up those videos. So when you talk about digital radio or you're talking about digital TV, households, you can pick your audiences. And that again goes back to the briefing process of who you're trying to attract. So you can tailor your video so you can bring in different characters, or you can bring in, different products depending the type of audience or the age or the generation or whatever it might be. You can adapt your video and you can serve it up to the right geographical audiences and the right households and the right, demographics that you want to target.
Yeah. So Matt, how have you worked previously in the past when it comes to obviously the video marketing side fitting into your campaigns?
Previously, I think it goes back to, again, the planning stage. For me, it's identifying that problem, what we're trying to solve. If we, with the best will in the world, we don't have lots of resources in-house. So for us, we do rely on working with agencies as partners, because I think that's really critical I've been agency side. To hear it right at the last minute with the last bit of information is really hard for the agency to get under the skin of it. So I like to bring the agency in right at the beginning of the briefing stage and say, this is the problem we're trying to solve. This is the type of channels we're thinking of. This is the kind of assets that we need. And I like to think the agency would therefore be involved collaboratively in that process, and therefore they can come on the journey with us to actually come up with the solutions rather than dictate to the agency that probably have lots and lots more experience in different clients and different industries and different audiences. So I think for me, I like to bring them in at the beginning, because taking everybody on that journey through a planning stage and briefing stage is really important. And then the output at the end is we can all be proud of that. And we've all collaboratively worked on the content together and what's required.
Yeah, I think we prefer that as well, because obviously you guys are the expert in terms of the products and what the clients needed, but we're the expert in the video side, and having someone to sit down with you and kind of come together, we can really come from outside of the box solution, especially in terms of creative. And I find that that's sometimes where we create the best content.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't underestimate the benefit of a really good agency as well, is it takes away that, from a client side, it does take away that stress, and that it helps create more solutions as opposed to problems. Whereas when you're working in a team and you're so engrossed in what I call the corporate treacle, you end up getting it's been around for 25 years. I've used that. I've heard, when I first started, it was always called that, because you end up getting pulled into other things that are business priorities and importance, whereas the agency can take a little step back, bring their creativity, and together you've got a better solution.
Because sometimes it's more powerful not knowing all the granular details. You can just tell us what it is you're trying to solve, and we can go away and collectively and creatively.
It's not your problem.
Ideas.
It's not your problem to worry about necessarily. There's the budget, what pots I'm getting it from, or who needs sign off on all these assets or content isn't your problem. It's just you bring the the experience and the creativity to do it.
Perfect. Now, I've been firing loads of questions at you. Have you got any questions you want to fire back at me?
I've got actually.
Okay. Let's stop there, shall we?
What from an agency perspective and video agency, what makes a really good brief from a client? What makes it a good client that you actually have a great outcome for?
It does go back to that collaborative approach. I feel like we always make our best work if the client is able to give us a little bit of free rein and just simply tell us the problems that they're trying to solve alongside their brand guidelines. Because we're all creatives in-house. What we love is to go away and be creative, and creativity is problem solving. That's where creativity stems from. So being able to take something that's on a piece of paper, sit around a table as a team, brainstorm, come up with some ideas and feed it back to the client. That is the most powerful way of working. But sometimes you get caught in the trap that some clients don't want to do that, which is absolutely fine. But we find if you want to get the best results, it is that collaborative approach. Get us in right at the start, and that's how we can help.
Yeah. And have you got any that you're particularly over the years you're particularly proud of, the way you've worked collaboratively and actually the output at the end has been exceptional compared to one where you've been dictated to?
Yeah, it's really strange, because I prefer, my background is high quality, glossy video production where you've got a team of 15 people all working in tandem, and there's no better feeling than being on set and you've got all these people, they know their specific job roles, they know what they've got to do, and then you finish at the end of it and you're like, it's big tick, everyone's happy. But obviously, as times have changed, it's gone from a little bit of satisfaction from that. But now you've got the likes of TikTok and YouTube and Instagram Reels, where my joy has become like a little bit weird on views now. So I get a massive buzz when we hit like 1 million views on a video.
Yeah.
So it's
the
like
metrics.
it's a fine balance between the two. And I think maybe that's just my personal growth from a person and a business perspective. I really want to give our clients the best return on investment.
I was going to say, is that because clients are asking for that?
Yeah.
So they, as a client, you have to justify the campaign or the promotion that you're doing based on views or conversions or engagement.
Yeah.
So we're asking, because it's real-time information, right? So years ago, going back to the PR days when I wouldn't know if it got covered for weeks on end, there was less emphasis on that results-driven marketing, whereas now I think the emphasis is on what has it returned us, what have we got, what's next, what's the uplift, what's the percentage.
I think it's certainly shifting, but I think it depends what the client's trying to achieve. Like if you're hiring an agency like us, we can do both. So, return on investment for one client might be that we're able to have a high number crew and bring in all these actors because they wouldn't be able to manage that themselves, and their end product is a high glossy TV advert, which is a good return on investment for them. Whereas we've got other clients where we manage their TikToks, and the main thing is making sure that we're constantly posting, once a day or 4 or 5 times a week, to make sure that TikTok picks up that algorithm and gets into their target market's talk effectively, and again slowly build up those communities and likes over time. So it really does depend, but I think I'm very much in the balance now. It's like I like us working as a team, I like that creativity, but then also like getting shitloads of views.
Shitloads of
bleep that one out.
Yeah, that's just different pressures, isn't it? It's like a brand awareness campaign.
Yeah.
You can't. I remember someone told me years ago, 50% of your marketing works, you just don't know which 50%. And then currently what we have a challenge at the minute is that we do test video versus static, and video always comes out top, of course. But it doesn't necessarily show as a conversion into sales all the time. So it's justifying that there is a brand awareness and attribution model that exists, that you have to therefore apply a certain science that goes, well, actually, if we switch it all off, what happens? And that's a very brave thing to do. And one of my jobs I had previously in agency, we stopped doing something just to see if it had any difference. And actually, it does make a difference. You don't realise how much brand awareness plays in it. And this always on, which is why video is really important and always on, because it keeps that creativity and variety coming. Because if you've just got a static, the amount of statics that you can have is really hard to churn.
Yeah.
And the differentiation, you can't differentiate between a piece of static and another.
I think that's changed massively though. Even the time that I've been in business, it's like you can see how social media was a luxury and was seen as a little bit of a sales tool, and now it's just a marketing tool that you have to do because you've always got to have a presence because there's so much noise out there.
Yeah, and then currently where I am at the minute, it's the amount of energy and effort we put into social media is huge, but we can't track the conversions on it. So from a board perspective,
they're always asking.
The budget is there. So you really have to justify that attribution in that brand awareness piece, and model like A/B testing, and utilizing different assets and mixing it up a bit and constantly changing things, but also having a bed of test where you go, well, actually, we test here, we tweak that, and that happens, we tweak that. But you've always got to have a base of consistency, otherwise you don't know what you're changing works where. So it is a constant evolution and metric testing and measurement.
I think the good thing with social though is like you can do that A/B testing, especially when it comes down to the video marketing. We do that with our clients. It's like try one video, the same message, try another video, the message but shot differently or slightly different content, and you see which one performs. But you can't do that if you're shooting a high budget TV advert, can you? It's like
You haven't got time
quite
to,
fixed,
it takes 4 days just
Yeah.
to do. When we did an advert, it took 4 days just to do 30 seconds
Yeah.
for one style.
Yeah.
You just, you can't do it. But it's all, back to the days when it was a lot less ROI justification, when you just had to put, a newspaper advert out there because you couldn't track it. And even now, QR codes and everything, all UTM tracking, everything, you just apply everything to make sure that it's tracked. Yeah. And you can do that now, which means, everything has to be justified. But when it works, it's brilliant because you get more budget, because you can prove that it works and you can prove that you can spend more money on it.
It's still hard to prove if you're just constantly touching people all the time.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the larger sales machine, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Any more questions for me?
No, I don't think so.
Lovely.
No.
Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Video Marketing Podcast. Join us next time for all things storytelling.